Hey everyone, welcome to this week's new episode of X Vlog Live. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a fire show. Two massive topics, lots of heavy opinions. Now, this show almost didn't get off the ground because, as you know, Skullsy TV was supposed to be here today. Unfortunately, he had a family emergency that he had to take care of, and obviously, real life is real life. This is just a silly podcast. He will get back to me, and we'll get him back on the show soon enough. But listen, when you have big opinions, when you have hot button topics, there is no better person to have on than I Steal Rain of Living Split Screen. Dude, thank you for the save. Super appreciate you being here. Let's talk. I mean, how you feeling, bro?
Bro, Boom, I'm just excited. The fact that I was able to slide in here, man, especially with the week being the way that it is, that's an exciting thing in itself. The fact that you even asked me to be on again, as I always tell you here and always in the backstage, I'm always forever grateful for, again, since you are a pillar to the community, at least in my eyes. Sir. So I definitely appreciate the invite. Again, like KSI has said, you throw that bat signal up, I got some time. I'm coming for it and all fully dressed up and ready to go, man. So ready to tackle some topics, man. We got some excited things to talk about, maybe a little bit of nonsense in some aspects, but I think we're going to bring a whole lot of reality to it. But yeah, man, I am Still Rain. For those who don't know me in chat, you're looking beautiful and wonderful out there. And man, I've just been getting some gaming in recently, man. My daughter's picked up on Genshin Impact. It seemed to be a hitter for her as far as a game that really touches the adventure, the combat, and also the aesthetic of a open world game. So, and since it's co-op, I've been kind of gearing up to get it go on that adventure with her. So that's been really dope. Cool. And that's kind of been my time here recently, along with finishing up Hogwarts, which I haven't jumped into here in a little bit, but I am towards the back end of it. I have to be at this point. Yeah, that's pretty much been me so far. So,
well, listen, it's good to have you. I love hearing the father-daughter stories because there's nothing more beautiful and hopeful than seeing us as adults play with our kids, with our nephews, our nieces, our godkids. You know what I'm saying? And experiencing what the magic of gaming is. So thanks so much for sharing that. That's super cool. I love hearing about it. But listen, folks, you're going to see some newly recorded footage of Halo Infinite Season 3. If you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you, brother. I am having a great time with it. I just hit level 73. Umbra, I am looking at you, brother. I got to check out and see what Umbra is up to. And see how far he is. I have no problem, and I will be playing after hitting a level 100 because they keep doing these new events. The new event started on Monday, has 20 levels to get up to. Some pretty cool things, armor pieces. But listen, folks, we got to get into let's just rip the Band-Aid off and get right into it. Now, look, I have said my piece about IGN before. I don't go out of my way to be negative. I don't like being negative. Steele and I were literally just talking about that in the green room. This is a positive channel. I like being positive. But the thing that I am not going to do, folks, because I'm not worried about IGN calling me to the carpet and putting me on their show, because I wouldn't accept the invitation anyway, because I'm not full of shit. I understand that they are a multi-million-dollar conglomerate. They have a lot of fans. They have millions of people that subscribe. If you subscribe to IGN, it's good on you. I used to be the pay $30 a year guy to keep the lights on, and I used to be a huge fan of a lot of people there, specifically Ryan McCaffrey. I spoke with Ryan all the time in DMs, and then he changed, and he kind of sold out, and I lost a distaste for his kind of news coverage, and, well, that's life. What are you going to do? What am I talking about, folks? Why am I bringing up IGN? Certainly not for clicks. Not for hate-driven content, because we don't do that. If you're new to the channel, check out some prior streams. We don't do hate here, folks. That's not what sells the brand. Mr. Boomstick and Mrs. Boomstick's generosity and the way that we conduct ourselves is the way what we like to put forward. But I have to talk about a tweet that came the way of Shinobi602. Now, Shinobi, good dude, love the guy, incredible pillar, folks, if you will, of the Twitter universe. He put out a tweet that obviously set the internet on fire. Currently, his tweet has 733 retweets, 770 quotes, I being one of them, 6,800 likes, and 287 bookmarks. Now, that's a lot of engagement. It has been viewed 1.5 million times, Steele, which means that he is someone that gets engagement. And that's why I follow him. And that's why I'm a big fan of his work, because he doesn't do this for, stoking the fires of clickbait. He simply put out a link to IGN France, put out a story, which we're going to get into. Now, he wrote in his tweet yesterday, Steele, a PlayStation 5 version of Redfall was in development, then canceled, confirms Arcane director Harvey Smith. He has him quoted in saying as this: "We were acquired by Microsoft, and it was a change with a capital C. They came in and said, no, PS5, we're focusing on Xbox, PC, and Xbox Game Pass." Now, I do have the story in front of me. Okay, now this was written again. I'm going to translate it because it is in French. So I'm translating it to English as right now. It was written by IGN France. The author was Paul Blanchard. Okay, this was updated on March 22nd, 2023 at 6:08 p.m. yesterday. And this is what the opening salvo says in Paul's article. "During our Redfall preview session, we had the opportunity to chat with the game's creative director, Harvey Smith, who also worked on Deus Ex and Dishonored 1 and 2. This was an opportunity to ask him the questions about the impact of the acquisition of Bethesda by Microsoft in 2021, right during the development of Redfall. Now, Harvey Smith, according to the article, told us that of the notable consequences was the immediate cancellation of the PlayStation 5 version. So I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to say, so what? That is what companies do when you buy other companies. No reason to spend $8 billion on Bethesda to give PlayStation players a game that has not even been announced. No one even
knew. Thank you, Boom. Please talk to him, please.
Was in development.
Please.
Okay. Yeah, and we're going to get to you right now because I know you're passionate about this. Let's be fair here, Steele. Okay. Microsoft, you can hate them, you can say Phil's a liar. I've seen it all, and I'm sick of it. I'm honestly sick of it because, like we were talking in the green room, Steele, there are two ways that this industry goes. The PlayStation way, which is they can't do any wrong. The Xbox way, anything that they do is wrong. And I'm tired of it. And I'm going to speak about it, and I'm going to give you the rawest boom you've seen in months because I am so tired of the industry. Listen, social media is going to be shitty. There are some times where social media is gorgeous and amazing and beautiful and uplifting, all of those good things. But for the most part, social media is kind of crummy, folks. It's just kind of crummy. And people, keyboard cowgirls and cowboys, I like to call them keyboard cowards, will get out there on their little phones and they'll type some really nasty things because they think their opinion matters. Right. And you know what? Their opinion does matter. Just doesn't matter to me. So look, I want to continue what he was quoted in saying, and then we're going to get your hot take on this because I do want to kind of rubber stamp this though. Redfall was in development for the Xbox and PlayStation 5. It was unannounced at the time of Bethesda being its own publisher before they were acquired. When Microsoft spent the $8 billion, any contract that was signed by Sony, which, by the way, they honored, right? Deathloop, a year exclusive. Ghostwire Tokyo, still not out on Xbox, honored, right? Right? These things were honored. We also know for a fact, this is not a suggestion, this is not me implying anything. After Bethesda signed those deals with PlayStation, in those contracts, we know that they tried to lock up Starfield as a permanent exclusive. not a timed exclusive, a straight up, it's on PlayStation only. Haters go buy a PlayStation. And when Microsoft bought the company, Phil Spencer came out and said clearly, games and their exclusivity are on a case-by-case basis, but we will honor all current contracts. Let me just say this for anyone that is a PlayStation fan and you feel entitled. You're not owed shit. Nothing. PlayStation is the market leader, and everyone seems that they can just do what they want, which they do. They can get what they want, which they do. I'm sorry to say, Steele, it's about time that Microsoft gets exclusive. Now, didn't we hear, Steele? Oh, we just want Microsoft to compete. The minute they start competing, it's anti-competitive. Shame on you, Microsoft. Phil Spencer's a liar. Ridiculous. But he goes on to say, we were acquired by Microsoft. Okay, so I did read that with the change with a capital C. He says, it's not very serious. It's even a good decision, I think. It helps to support Game Pass and one less platform to worry about, one less complexity. Right? That's what he goes on to say. He also, let me just switch this back to English. Hold on a sec. Again, he says, Game Pass has a ton of players. It would become our biggest game thanks to 30 million, which right there he confirms that there are 30 million subscribers, where I can't remember the exact number of subscribers. So he's being facetious a bit. Look, let's just pump the brakes on the article. We've read what we had to read. Now it's time for opinions, folks. Steele, the reason why I'm so glad that you're here is because you are known for not only pulling it back and having that RTS view, you're also known for keeping it live and uncut. Live, raw, and uncut. That's what you're known for. That's your tagline. You should have a shirt made up, by the way.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
This is a gigantic, superficial, nothing burger. But because IGN France, IGN as a company is IGN, any opportunity, folks, and I'm not making this up. Again, this is not clickbait material. This is not me trying to get your sub. This is being straight up honest from the heart. In recent years, every opportunity that IGN has, whether it is the Americas, whether it's somewhere else, they take digs at Microsoft, and they turned this spark into a blazing fire. And now we're starting to see the same people, Steele, the same social mediaites that are PlayStation fanboys and fangirls crying how Far Cry, how Redfall was complete garbage, looked like garbage. I wouldn't play it anyway, to getting to the top of their roofs and screaming, I can't believe it. Where's my PlayStation 5 version? What a load of shit is all I'm going to say. Sorry for the cursing, folks, but this is what happens when I get, and I won't say the F word. I won't do it, but I definitely will say the S word. Let's talk about it, Steele. What are your thoughts on this? Because the fact that this game was in development before the acquisition, never announced, no one knew it was being made. PlayStation gamers have nothing to be concerned about. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go on a limb here and say, you know what? If you want to play the game, play it on your $5,000 PC with the PC Master Race people that own PlayStation, who said publicly, I don't need an Xbox. I have a $5,000 rig. Okay, good on you. Go subscribe to Game Pass or go buy the game. Let's talk about it.
So there's a couple different places I would like to start. As far
take as much time as you want. As a conversational podcast, do your thing, brother.
And I think I'll try to see what angle is going to fit best. There were some things that I've seen this week that mainly after this kind of news has come out, that were mainly touching on the points of, well, you know, this is giving ammo to the FTC and the CMA for being contradictory to what Xbox is really trying to do. And okay, first I have to say that's the most disingenuous take that I've heard in a while. The only and main reason I say this, right, because again, as someone who considers themselves pretty in the know as far as what the hell was going on with the gaming industry, I'm not going to sit here and claim I know everything. I don't have any personal connects to anybody. I'm not getting fed any information, but I can only take information at face value, right? Taking that ECP, right? That educated consumer perspective that I like to refer back to. And from my educated consumer perspective, from everything that I have seen, as you have mentioned, there has nothing been out there to verify that, hey, these games were announced and were planned on coming to these other platforms, right? Currently, and this is something that I want to kind of start off with in the beginning, I do want you guys to think about this. The only platform that is giving you multiple ways to play, coming out and telling you, hey, we're wanting to give you more ways to play. Hey, if you got a PC, great. We got Xbox there. Hey, if you got the console, well, great. You're going to get everything day one. But if you got any of these other platforms, oh, matter of fact, I can't forget about mobile. That's the other 2 billion we're trying to. So if you got a mobile phone, look, we got an Xbox app that's we're working on, and hopefully we can get these games to you sooner rather than later. So already 3 different platforms versus your competition's 1, right? And now we're moving into 2, but they're moving at a snail's pace because, man, I have to sell my games at the top value because all my games are worth it. Although Square Enix gives me their games and those aren't doing well, so I don't know what's really doing well anymore. But anyway, that's besides the point because I'm not getting Redfall or I'm not getting Starfield. And to say that, oh well, this is giving ammo to these regulatory bodies is an inaccurate statement because this situation is completely different from those others. For example, I saw some people running with, and they were doing it on both sides. Some people were on the right side and other people weren't quite right. But Project Eve, which is now known as Stellar Blade, it was announced to be coming to all platforms, everywhere. There's more than the most recent Sony showcases, the one before the most recent one, displayed that the game was only coming to PlayStation as a timed exclusive. It may be a permanent exclusive. We don't know. But man, isn't that a case of a game that was planned to go everywhere, but for some reason, all of a sudden, it's not? Boom.
Thank you.
You give out a good example all the time. You have a case, right?
Yep.
The Final Fantasy VII Remake that was supposed to be a timed exclusive, correct? You have a sticker on that case that says, hey, it is a timed exclusive until this date. It looks like Boom's actually going to go get that case potentially.
I got it for you, brother. Here, look,
okay.
Camera. Let me see if I can bring this right up there.
Because again,
there it is.
We have
timed exclusive. This is my look, it's not sealed because it's open because I played the game, but I like my stuff mint. So there you go, folks. In hand, live on the air. This was announced.
And the reason I bring that up is because it even made it as far as to be on the labeling for a case.
Yeah.
And that is an easy example of saying, hey, we feel like this would be more beneficial of keeping this exclusive to our platform. Hey, Xbox, I don't care whether your gamers get it or not. Square Enix said in line with it and said it was all right. Whatever deal that they got between Sony and Square said, you know what? They don't need it. And 2 years later, have we got that game yet, Bo?
Nope.
Oh, man. Did you hear any rumors about it coming out? Or
yeah, it's funny. We actually had heard there was a rumor before E3 last year that it might make its way to Xbox Game Pass. And you know what we heard after that? Sony put the kibosh on that by extending the contract. Oh, wow. So Sony's way, it's thumbs up. Xbox way, garbage. Okay.
And especially when the main difference is these games that the people are mentioning were not even labeled to be on any other platform. There's not any ad marketing out there. None of that. These are just behind the scenes information that we were given to know that, hey, there was a potential PS5 game being worked on. Xbox bought this publisher, bought the whole entire building and said, you know what? Nah, it's only going to be on the Xbox ecosystem. And still, because this is the other thing that people are running with, hey, well, if it's all about, because this is something else that Phil has said, and people are bringing it up in conversation. Well, Phil said he wanted to bring games to everybody. Isn't this going against what he said? I thought you wanted games everywhere. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I agree on some semblances of that. I am the guy that says, hey, exclusives don't matter as much as they used to. Now, exclusives do matter in the fact that you got to give something to make your platform appealing, at least to this point, right? If you think about it a little bit, back in the day, and it's not even that far, 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, these consoles were created specifically to play games a certain way. PlayStation had their games made a certain way. Xbox had their games made a certain way. They made boxes specifically for that. We have now reached an era where all of that has become completely blended together. And Xbox has went out there on the front lines and said, hey, well, we want to give access to as many players as possible within our ecosystem. Not PlayStation's ecosystem, not Nintendo's ecosystem, but if we can, we will. We will continue to honor all current deals, like, for example, what you've seen with Call of Duty. They're going to keep that going. Elder Scrolls Online, they're going to keep that going because those already exist on those platforms. And as much as I may not feel as this exclusives matter and they're not the end all to be all anymore, it doesn't mean that the companies still don't see it that way or don't hold value for that. Because again, like I also just mentioned, you have to have something that's going to be appealing for your platform. Same way Spider-Man is, right? Spider-Man is appealing for a PlayStation platform.
Right.
1,000% great. That is also something that Sony has had started since the first game came. So I can't follow as much as I want it to be everywhere because I want people to be able to experience on all these different platforms. They did bring it to PC. So at least it did open it up to a player base that may have not had access to it before. And that is the point, right? Whether or not you feel as though Xbox doing this half in, half out kind of thing because they're trying to do what makes sense for their business, right? Where they're trying to play this Game Pass games where they're saying on one hand, hey, well, you know, we want people to have all this access to games, but only within our ecosystem, because again, that's the key word, ecosystem. It's becoming something that's extremely hard for people to come to an understanding of, right? Because if one day you have Xbox has all these different platforms, so you see like Call of Duty, if the Activision Blizzard deal goes through, like I'm anticipating it will, the fact that Call of Duty will be a Xbox owned IP that is on every platform is a perfect example of what they are trying to accomplish with certain games on a case-by-case basis. Because some games, it doesn't make sense to do that.
You know what else? He said during that specific interview that a lot of people forget? Games can exist on other platforms where Xbox Game Pass lives. So if Sony wanted Xbox Game Pass, they could do it. As a matter of fact, we know thanks to the CMA documentations that Microsoft has said, hey, we'll put it on PlayStation Plus. Take it. You want it on your platform? Take it. You know what Sony says? We can't do that. It's going to destroy our ecosystem. Wait, hold on a sec. You don't want Microsoft to buy ABK. You want to hold on to marketing rights for the eternity. You're offered parity. You're offered day and dates. You're offered, hey, it's in Game Pass, but it can be in your on your service, PlayStation Plus Premium, where you don't even put your own first-party games day and date. You can take it, and they still said no. We learned, thanks to Jim Ryan's arrogance, I don't want a Call of Duty deal. I just want to block your merger, which is why the EU Commission is going to pass this with zero concessions outside of cloud. And I hope that everyone else starts to see that Jim Ryan and SIE are full of shit. Sorry, but please continue.
No, 100%. And like Pre-Authorized mentions in the chat, says the only reason Destiny isn't exclusive is because Bungie said they didn't want it exclusive. If that wasn't contractually written, Sony would have pulled it from Xbox. And you're 1,000% right.
The day that they purchased them, they would have pulled it.
Yeah, 1,000%. And that's what makes Bungie unique in that situation, is that they didn't allow that to happen. And it also kind of makes sense for you to continue to have that massive game known as Destiny, to continue to have the fan base that it has, because it's kind of seemed like not as much in the vein of a Call of Duty, but Destiny does definitely have its millions of a player base, at least, and easy for these gamers to come back flocking in at any point. So they're already getting the market advantage from just having that, right? Those funds aren't being distributed amongst all these other people or through Activision anymore and being distributed out. It's going directly to PlayStation. So they're already seeing some benefits there. This whole Redfall, Starfield snafu, the people are kind of just in arms about is exactly that. It's just a snafu. People trying to find something to be mad about, to be frustrated with, to try to run their whatever jargon that they want to put together, whatever wording they want to use to try to stir up their fan base. At the end of the day, I don't know how you try to paint this as something else, especially as far as conversation goes, because I'm always down for a conversation. I like chopping it up, especially when it comes to gaming, because it's very opinion based, right? People could come from any angle, and you kind of have to accept the different angles, because we don't, unless you're in that boardroom, unless you know exactly what's going on, and another key part of it, you can give direct information to back up anything that you say. At the end of the day, it's all opinion based. It's about how you feel about what's going on. And at the end of the day, you have to take your emotion out of it, because, hey, if it's okay for PlayStation to make Stellar Blade an exclusive after it was announced for all platforms, then I think a game that wasn't announced for all platforms, matter of fact, they didn't make an announcement for any platforms.
We didn't even know it existed, dude.
And now it's only exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem. That's not, oh, Phil is backhanded and he said this and did this. No, that's not what happened. He actually, if anything, held up to his word and said, hey, yeah, case by case basis. Oh, yeah, exclusives matter. We got to kind of do that. Oh, we all do it. I mean, it matters, right? Oh, yeah, we want to give more people access. Who is the only platform that's giving you more access than you've ever had before? Can you?
That would be Xbox. Yeah.
Is Spider-Man 2 coming to PC day and date?
No.
We don't know. We don't know if it's actually releasing this year or not either. But if it's not, isn't that still PlayStation doing what they've always done and trying to live in what they have always lived through? So where's the conversation we're really having there, right? Or Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, when that comes out. So are we finally going to get Part 1, or are they going to keep cutting deals with this third party known as Square Enix, who isn't owned by Sony, to make sure that it continues to not to be in that more people don't have access to a game potentially just because of exclusivity, right? So for me, I guess it does depend on what your kind of perspective on it is, for sure. But I have to say, if your perspective is that somebody lied to you, if you didn't get good information, or that somebody took something away, especially after you were just told, we're not taking anything away from gamers that already have certain games already. I just don't know what else. How much of do I need to get a coloring book for you? Maybe some crayons, and we can sit down together and talk through your problems and figure out why little Timmy touched you that way. And we make sure we're coloring the lines, though, because we want to make a pretty picture for mommy. So if that's what we need to do, I won't mind doing that. I like coloring, right? I'll use colored pencils because I'm not much of a crayon dude. And, I may be speaking with somebody that's kind of double fisting the crayons. So it might be hard to stay on those lines. So we might not get a good picture. But right now, the only place that's painting a vivid picture with no HD is on the Xbox side of things, man. And unfortunately or fortunately, Phil's always going to get that criticism. Xbox is going to get that criticism, especially when it comes to these moments when people are trying to find a gotcha moment to kind of work up their fan base, right? So that's my thoughts on it.
No, I mean it's great. So it's great thoughts. Again, there's folks. You've heard me say this before, and if you don't like the opinion, I listen. I'm not going to argue with you. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. There is an industry double standard that is currently at play, and like I said, social media as a whole is going to be what it is.
Mhm.
Some days it's going to be bright and sunny. Some days it's going to be dark and a thunderstorm. Most days it's pretty just straight down the middle, right? People give their opinions. Some people go a little harder than others. You know, some people are more passionate about a platform. I'm here for it. Have your opinion, go at it. You see, Steele, my issue is the gaming media.
Yeah.
Now, understand that I'm not taking every gaming media site and throwing them under the bus because that is dumb, number one. And number two, something like VGC. I had an issue a couple of weeks about about what the head of VGC had to say.
That's
but
crazy thing.
I still consider VGC one of my top places. Places like lordsofgaming.net, run by the Iron Lords, phenomenal site. Constant, incredible interviews and articles. Their staff is straight up fire. I want them to get as big as IGN because, well, they deserve it. So every gaming media is not the journalists or the journalistic community, if you will, is against Xbox. Someone like Jez Corden, for instance, of Windows Central. Jez wears his Xbox heart on his sleeve, and we love him for it. But you know what? He will give them the business the same way I will, and you will, and Pong, and many other people that we work with on a daily basis. And we're not considered media; we're just podcasters.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it's see, my problem ultimately here is when you see an article like this. Okay, and I'm going to go back to the article.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Nowhere in this article does it say anything about how good or terrible Redfall is for a Redfall event that they were invited to.
Yeah.
You see, this is my problem, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It's much easier to spit on Xbox or kick them in the ribs when they're down, which is what a lot of these sites, specifically IGN, does. Now, I clicked on it, so I became a part of the problem, but I had to read it because obviously I'm not going to shoot from the hip like a boob. I'm very, very meticulous when it comes to putting these shows on. And when I get it wrong, I was telling Steele this before, you folks have no idea how hard I am on myself to get these shows up and running and get them done right. If I make a mistake, zero problems getting out there and saying I got it wrong, because that's what I owe you, was tuning into the show.
Right.
But it's because I didn't do my homework, and that makes I put the pressure on me. You have no idea how much pressure I put on myself because I have to. I got to get it right because no one should have to tune into this show. You tune in because you trust what I'm saying and the guests that I bring in. So I got to get it right. See, that's my problem ultimately, Steele, is that if you look at the article, first of all, the article is, let me see, I don't know, 3.5 paragraphs, right? 3.5 paragraphs. And the only mention of the actual event is in the first sentence. During our Redfall preview session, we had the opportunity to chat with the game's creative director, who also worked blah, 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 like I said. This was an opportunity to ask the question about the impact of the acquisition of Bethesda by Microsoft in 2021, right during the development of Redfall.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the opening salvo paragraph. Nowhere is there, and I'm looking at it, I have it in front of me right here. I literally have it here right now. Not until the literal end of the article, in paragraph 3.5, does it say Redfall will be released on Xbox Series S and X, as well as PC on May 2nd. To learn more about the game, you can also read our preview here. They have a link. But literally, not until the last sentence. Every piece of written article is how terrible, or they're implying how terrible the fact that there's no PlayStation 5 version. This is my problem ultimately. And I'm sure, again, I can't say for everybody because I haven't read a whole bunch of articles. This is the one that was sent to me by Kay Asante. I took it, I ran with it, and I'm using it as the crux of the conversation. And I don't understand, Steele, what more. Like when you talk about Xbox, there are a lot of things that we can say. We can say that 2022 was a disastrous year for first party.
They're inconsistent.
Unbelievably inconsistent. They didn't deliver. Three of the games that were supposed to come out are canceled. Were not canceled, were delayed.
Yeah.
Right? So we can say that. We can say in 2021, they had a ton of games. They were publisher of the year. But for 2020, 2022, they dropped the ball. It's fine. They know it. I don't have to reiterate.
Even in 21, people said they were inconsistent because people didn't get the games that they were looking for.
That they wanted. Yeah. I mean, listen,
the games dropped or they weren't good enough to sell the platform.
So. But one of the things that we still don't see consistently from the gaming media is the fact that Xbox Game Pass is offering an incredible amount of value for a price, especially in a time where folks who are gamers of every ilk, of every financial station, of every from rich to poor, it doesn't matter. If you're a gamer, you're a gamer. What Microsoft has been doing and what they continue to do and what will be continued once the family plan is released later this year is that they offer value, but more so than just the value, it is the wide array of games for everyone that is interested in gaming in the package. You pay your $15 and you have games from AAA quality to developed by one person and everything in between. Very rarely do you see the articles from these sites about, let's say, ID at Xbox, which was at GDC, and you hear some incredible, absolutely astounding stories on how someone came out with the game, and if we would have released it on the PlayStation, we would have had to pay $30,000 to get it into their store where it had some advertising. And we've heard this, folks, that if you're not a big publisher, and this came out in the CMA, there was someone that responded to the CMA's questionnaire. They said, if you're not a big AAA publisher, you don't get a lot of play and you don't have a lot of room to work with on PlayStation. And that's not the same on Xbox. And very rarely do you hear anything about that. That is why this is a one-sided conversation. And I'm going to make it as simplistic as I can get before we move on to the Starfield conversation, because that I have a lot to say about, especially with what's going on with the media, with some people on the interwebs. It's just ridiculous. The most simplistic way to look at the way the media handles the Xbox platform is simple as pie. PlayStation good, Xbox bad. That's it. And if you think that I'm lying, go read, just for shits and giggles, folks. Just pick a site and look at how many positive PlayStation, no matter what they do, articles that there are, versus even if Microsoft is doing well, they find a way to dump on them. And it's astounding. It is astounding how many it's for PlayStation, who is the market leader, I get it, versus Xbox. I'm sorry, I had to say it, but I want to move on to the Starfield conversation. Now, if you look at the thumbnail, it says Starfield Xbox exclusive, and that is okay. And this is also, again, I bring this up because we started to see this reek its ugly head about Phil Spencer lying about Starfield. We heard, people bringing up, interviews with Todd Howard. Yeah, we kind of wish we could have had more players, but it is, we are purchased by Microsoft and they want it here. And I say this about the ABK deal, Steele. If the shoe was on the other foot, there is zero doubt in my mind that Call of Duty would have immediately become a PlayStation exclusive. You're the only place to play Call of Duty. Hell, I would even dare say that they wouldn't release it on PC for at least 6 months, maybe longer, to get people to buy a PlayStation 5.
Yeah,
because this is
the other side of that too, though. Boom, it's like you gotta. How would PlayStation even support that versus Xbox, who literally has the infrastructure to make sure that that can continue to exist, right? PlayStation would be forced to try to make it, and I would have to say try to make it exclusive, because it would still be open for debate or whichever the case, whether it would be so easily had. I do agree with you that it probably would have, but it's just that though would just be like guys, we've got to consider like in which case does it make more sense that you would continue to have things the way that you want them and potentially have them expand out further, right?
Yeah.
My fault.
I mean, listen, before we get into the Starfield conversation on why it's okay that Starfield is exclusive, got to thank some people in the who dropped some super chats. Gaming Nerd Austria dropped a very generous £5 super chat and says, "I hear you, Boom. I'm tired of all the S too. Why is Microsoft not allowed to compete without being questioned by everyone? It's ridiculous." Dreadful Sean drops a very generous $10 super chat. Hey, Sean, welcome to the program as always. He says this: "Are you having issues with Spotify? The last show from Tuesday and Wednesday haven't been added yet. It's that's how I normally listen to the day after. Hope it gets fixed soon." It's weird. I'm pretty sure that I uploaded them. I will check, because it's been super busy here at the house. We got a lot of things going on personally. So if it's on me and I didn't upload them, I'll get them uploaded ASAP. Sean, thank you for the reminder. I might have just actually forgotten, because usually I do it like right after the show. I will get it up there today. Dark Winters drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "Just because Redfall had a PS5 version in development and was canceled doesn't mean much, since Xbox still doesn't have Final Fantasy VII. Yep, thank you very much. And won't be getting the new one either." Yeah, it's well, I mean, I brought it up for everybody. I brought the receipts. I got it. It says timed exclusive and coming to only to spring of that year. Yep. We still don't have it, so I'm just saying. But I want to talk about Starfield, because this is a hot topic. This is a hot button topic for a lot of reasons, Steele. We have seen many people on both sides of the community as well, and specifically, again, focusing on the gaming media. The gaming media will have you believe that a Bethesda game, a Bethesda RPG game being exclusive to Xbox is some sort of a travesty of justice, which I find to be hilarious at best. It is exclusive, and you know what, folks? It's okay that it's an Xbox exclusive. Again, never announced for PlayStation, right? If there was a version of it in development, which at the time before Microsoft purchased them, it might have been the case, because Sony tried to lock up that IP permanently. Right? It wasn't a timed exclusive they were looking for, Steele. It was a straight up, this is the only place to play. And guess what? It probably would have never come to PC, because Sony's ideology, even though it's an old one, is make game or make game exclusive. You buy PlayStation, you play said game on PlayStation, and that's it. And they're happy with that. That is an old man's way of thinking. That is the same ideology of physical versus digital. There are some people in the community that, for hell or high water, will not get involved or invested in digital. Now, that could be a trust thing. That could be, you want the thing in your hand. I came from the 70s, folks. I'm an old man. And it took me a long time to convert to, yes, it's okay to have some physical stuff. But ultimately, from collection-wise, and, we're only in an apartment here, there's space. So a digital library is sometimes more practical. So taking this back to Starfield, you've talked about it, you've seen it, you've talked about it on your shows. There is some sort of a trend thing going on where Starfield being exclusive to Xbox is somehow become a meme, a bad thing, and and I started to see it wreak its ugly head once again when this thing came out yesterday with Redfall. Oh my God, Redfall! I can't believe it. And these are the same people that said Redfall was garbage. I don't want to play that garbage. It's just Left 4 Dead. Sucks, right? And now everyone's crying. I want to get your take on this because I have always understood, and again, maybe because I've been in a part of the gaming industry for a very long time, that at the core of the gaming business, exclusives sell content. Now, Microsoft is doing some things differently with Game Pass, and they're allowing for millions of people to play. So they're not in the same mindset as Sony. Sony, again, wants to sell you the box, sell you the game, you play there, that's it. Microsoft wants to sell you the box deal, but they also allow you to play, and Fuzzy Belvedere actually had put this out there, play on console, play on your TV, play on your PC, play on tablet, play on your phone, play everywhere, play in your refrigerator if you can. And again, it's a new way of thinking. It's a new way of not being subjected to having to sell X copies of X game on X platform so we could make a profit. Right? So I mean, again, the subscription service versus the one sale is it's an intriguing one for me personally, because again, I come from an old school way of you buy a game, you play game on said console, and everyone's happy. This is a very new way of doing. They are changing the business. But I do want to reel this back into Starfield. In your opinion, is it okay that Starfield is a permanent exclusive? Because according to some people, which of course we don't do on this channel because I will never subscribe to bullying, right? That's why I don't say people's names. 100%. Because if you go and you go after someone because of me, then I have failed as a host, and then I'll quit the business. I will never subscribe to that. There was a specific YouTuber over the weekend, and we've heard Colin Moriarty, who we know who he is. The guy owns a really big business, right. Big ex-IGN dude, right? Talk about now he didn't say this, but this YouTuber did. That no, I have it on good authority that Starfield is a timed exclusive. I've talked to people, the dude bros.
Oh, okay,
yeah, good stuff.
Nice.
Even though Phil Spencer and Aaron Greenberg and Sarah Bond, and Todd Howard and Pete Hines and Major Nelson and just name your favorite Xbox person have confirmed that it is an exclusive. You know what, folks? It's okay. It's okay to have an exclusive of that ilk. And again, we don't know what the game is going to be. The game could flop for all we know. It's unlikely because it's Bethesda. But
very unlikely.
Is it okay, Steele, to have an exclusive of this caliber for Xbox?
I think it's beyond okay, right? If any platform can have exclusives, I don't see why. Just because Xbox didn't. And even that wouldn't be the most accurate statement, because I know people bring it up. Well, look at Bethesda just holding up Xbox. If it wasn't for Bethesda's ZeniMax, where would Xbox be? That's a very valid criticism. Although the biggest part of that criticism that I feel like is not talked about or is forgotten in those statements is that Bethesda ZeniMax has been kind of in tandem, working close together since the very beginning. So if there's any breadth of organic nature in business, I think that Starfield becoming exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem that is also based from the parent company, which is Microsoft, who does Windows, who is a PC-focused company, kind of makes sense to me, right? Now, again, just like with the whole Redfall conversation, you can just apply a lot of that same logic here. Where if you're allowed to have whatever other game and it can be exclusive to your platform, then I do feel as though Xbox and whoever else should be able to do the same. Though, just like Phil has said in that most recent interview, he said, you'll be able to access our games to wherever Xbox Game Pass is available. He also stated that exclusivity is kind of difficult to speak on because they are available on PC now. The whole exclusivity conversation is changing. It's not the traditional way that people try to put so much credence, so much love behind and say, no, if we don't do it this way, these games aren't going to do well. While on the back end of that same conversation, you have these companies, not really Nintendo, although I'm pretty sure they've probably said some things behind the scenes, but you have someone like PlayStation coming out and saying that, hey, our fan base isn't enough. Us waiting 4 years to sell 30 million copies of Spider-Man, that's great and all, but it's not enough. Hey, God of War, we spent a lot of money on that. It's really expensive to make these types of games. And look, guys, you Sony players, just not enough. How many times does somebody have to tell you that in order for you to believe that something
that's
has
coming
to
from
change?
Jim Ryan, by the way, the comments you're talking about. Literally from Jim Ryan.
From the top. From the very tippy top. And then when it comes to competition, right? Because again, that's what this exclusivity, the whole conversation is about. It is about competition at the end of the day. Xbox has treated competition differently. Xbox has come out and stated that we don't have to continue to do this traditional, hey, I put game on box, you buy box, you play game, and then that's it. No, because it's not working. Do I need to say it in Spanish? If I could speak Spanish, I probably would. There's no other way that I could literally spell this out for you other than having you sit down with me and we sit there and go through a coloring book. I can't. The fact that Xbox is giving you more ways to play the single game that you're saying that people are complaining about is not going to be available on their platform should be word enough. Because these same PlayStation people that are actually complaining, because most of the consumers already know how this kind of thing goes, right? Oh, well, this game is over here. It's always kind of been that way. If I want to play those games, I got to play them here. But then when their best friend Jim comes up to them and says, hey, on Xbox, you don't have to just play on Xbox. And Tim says, what do you mean, Jim? What do you mean? I thought I could only play this game on Xbox. He was like, no, remember that new PC that you got your wife and, I know she's working from home now, but you got her a decent PC, right? It's like, yeah, and she kind of moved out into the living room now. I don't really get time to play like that. Well, hey, you can play on that PC. Really? Yeah, Xbox Ultimate, you get all of your games right there.
Cross saves, cross progression.
Cross progression on a lot of these games. Hey, and even if that, you can literally turn your console on, pull out your phone, tablet, laptop, and do remote play. And play it from any device or play it from the cloud or play it however you enjoy playing it. You just can't play it in the PlayStation ecosystem because exclusives exist. And although Microsoft and the Xbox have kind of loosened the reins on what exclusives truly mean by them expanding out to mobile and in the PC space, because they understand that they have to open it up to more consumers, more customers, doesn't mean that it's a negative thing. Just because they're doing it differently, because again, we have to remember PlayStation has forced them to do something differently. So are we going to completely forget that whole PlayStation 4, Xbox One generation happened and the end of the 360 PS3 generation didn't happen to where everything started swinging right back towards PlayStation side and all these exclusivity conversations and all this great stuff and Jim coming out and saying that, oh, you guys we're going to pretend like none of that happened?
Yeah.
Guys, are we going to progress and continue to move forward within the gaming space in a industry that we as the consumer have the most impact on? As we as the consumer are actually getting more benefits than we have ever seen before?
Yeah.
As we as the consumer can make the decision, hey, I see this platform is giving me these things. I see this ecosystem is giving me these things versus this other ecosystem. It's the same way that you look at Disney. It's the same way that you look at Netflix, Hulu, whatever other subscription, Spotify, YouTube Music, whatever you have. Why do you have one and not the other? Why do you have both? And who said that at some point you couldn't have both and easily have access to them? That is what Xbox is trying to pitch. And again, nothing's saying it's proven. It's their idea. It's their philosophy of business. They still feel as though exclusive matter in some ways, but they have shown, proven, and told you that things have to be done differently. How many games need to come to Game Pass with devs coming out and saying, man, my game didn't come to Game Pass, I don't know how well it would have done. Hey, how many games need to come to Game Pass for it to have 20, 30 million gamers play it within the first 3 months of a release for you to believe that this isn't working, or that this is working? How many times do they need to come out and say, hey, well, since we've started doing this, we've seen actually more people want to invest in the ecosystem, buy DLC. For an example, Wo Long came into Game Pass. It's working on me, who is I consider myself as the enthusiast in the gaming space, or the hardcore gamer that a lot of people else use as a reference. Wo Long Fallen Dynasty. I bought the DLC because I didn't have to buy the game. Didn't even think about it. Said, man, I love this game. I'm having a good time with it. How much is the DLC? $30? Let's do it. I didn't have to pay nothing for the game. I'm having a great time. I want to be able to play this as long as it's here. And if it ever leaves, Microsoft made sure to give me an additional benefit to its consumers, at least, of, hey, we still give you that additional 10%, 15%, whatever they offer at the time, because they have sales and deals going on all the time, like on top of what you're already getting. So it's just a perspective thing, man. At the end of the day, people have to decide what's going to work for them. Are you a gamer that plays only 1-2 games a year and you can justify only buying those 2 games? Or that's more, and you fit more in that PlayStation mantra of being a single player kind of gamer, and that's what you're looking for? Or I think it's kind of changing for you. Do you want to touch on more games? Do you want to have more access? Do you want to have the ability to play all these games wherever you want to play? And that's the kind of conversation that's happening right now, right? I don't think it's necessarily about exclusivity per se, right? I think that's just the smoke that people are, just the sticks, right, that people are using to create the fire. But the actual fire is the fear that some people have that somehow what Xbox is doing is devaluing gaming. And I think that that's the true underlying fear that some people have, and why they force themselves to look at it this way, at least in my personal opinion. Because if you look at it from any other lens, it just doesn't quite make sense to why now exclusives are a problem. Why now we need to take things out of context and say, hey, well, Phil said these things, although he didn't say that. Right. Phil never, he didn't lie to nobody. I'm not saying that he's perfect. Now, I'm not saying that he's always told the truth about things. All of them do it. They have to sell you on something, sell you on dreams and hopes. They've been doing that. But he blatantly told you, you will have access to our games where Game Pass is available. You will have access to, although it's hard to say exclusives because we're on we have multiple aspects to play.
Yeah.
Although he has said, hey, we will take these games on a case-by-case basis, I think Redfall and Starfield fit within that case-by-case basis and are sticking points to Sony to say, hey, you guys are going to keep playing the game the way that you want to play it, then we're going to continue to play the game differently, but show you how we can do some of the same things you're doing, but just do it in our own way. And I think that's the main thing that's happening here. So,
yeah, see, okay, so just rewinding back to some of the things that you said, you had a lot of fantastic points. When you see someone on social media, Steel, turn around and tout this utter nonsense about exclusivity and Phil said and things of that nature, you're like, well, maybe they're not as invested,
right,
in the game, in gaming as we are. Like we're gamers, right? We're invested in the consoles that we own, the ecosystems that we support, but we take it a step further because we are content creators. So we read a little bit more than the average person. We are more invested in the conversation because we are trying to put on shows that people are going to tune in and enjoy the conversation, right? We have a certain mantra, if you will, to the way that we do content. You and Pong, you guys don't sell people on hate to tune in.
No.
You'd rather just not have the view. And I'm like that as well. But I am not going to, you and I and several other people are not going to shy away from some sticky conversations that we're going to have, like we're having right now. But you see, where I draw the line with the media is if you are a quote unquote journalist in the gaming media,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what you do, whether you are a contributor, whether you're hired, whether you're a freelancer, whether you're an intern, whatever your situation may or may not be, you're a part of gaming media. You have two things that I find incredibly important to any conversation. You're supposed to have journalistic integrity, which is something that I hold high, and I'm not a journalist. I hold integrity high. And you know how I do my shows.
Mm-hmm.
You know how Steele and Pong and several and hundreds of other people do their shows. There's a level of integrity that we're not going to sell you hate or lies for the click. Now, some people have built their YouTube channels in doing so. Good on them for doing it. I will not subscribe to that. I said it before, and I will say it again. If I had to convert to that kind of behavior for success, I will close down this channel tomorrow and never come back to it.
Which is fair.
Because if I can't do it the right way, I'm not going to do it. But there's something else that the journalistic community has, and that at the fingertips is access to all of the information.
Right.
Every quote from Phil Spencer is just a Google search bar away. In their own, whether it be VGC or GameSpot or IGN or any of them, they have access to all of this information. But yet, we still see the negative articles about Phil Spencer lied. Phil Spencer said. And this is one of those situations. And you said it. Phil Spencer said it clearly. We are going to honor all contracts, which they have, and we will, regarding exclusivity, deal with it on a on a basis of per game. I think that's not wiggle room, Steele. That is straight up reality.
That's what it is.
It's not lies. That's not him twisting the truth to make it fit his narrative. It is what it is. So I have to ask the question, because we know we're running to that 70-minute mark, and I do want to, this is meant to be a 70-minute show. I do have to pose the question now. Shout out to Everborn Saga, who had sent the message. I missed it, and it's a lot harder when I'm trying to read the super chats, get all that prepared to read it out, and answer welcome in everybody. I missed the message. I don't think he's going to be able to join us, only because he has a 1:00 meeting and he only had about 5 minutes. If we're still talking in like 5 or 10 minutes and he's here, I'll let him drop in for the minute to talk about it. But still, the question that I want to pose is very simple. And we talked about this before. Why is it okay for PlayStation to not only have their incredible exclusives, which they do have, but lock up exclusive content and be accepted as the norm when Microsoft starts to put a foot forward in regards to Xbox, any kind of content being exclusive, whether that's an indie, whether that's their first party, whether that's a Bethesda game or an ABK game that has not even made the whiteboard yet. They haven't even thought about it. We have heard, right, that Treyarch and Infinity Ward, makers of Call of Duty, we've heard rumors that they're both currently working on an open world first-person space game in the ilk of Mass Effect. If this deal goes through, and I'm like you, I believe the deal is going to go through, okay, you will start to hear this reek its ugly head years later when this game comes out and it's an Xbox exclusive. Because according to the contract that they're offering everyone, we have it confirmed that it is only Call of Duty. So, Mike, again, to simplify it, why is it okay for Sony to have exclusives, but not Microsoft? I'm confused by this, folks.
Oh, I mean, the answer is easy. Is because Sony's the market leader. Sony is the popular choice. Sony is the Jordan of the gaming industry.
Yeah.
That's why people will stay in the line for Sony because of the popularity of it. When you go out on the street, and I will continue to always beat this drum. You can go on the street right now and ask 100 people, "Hey, Xbox or PlayStation?" The majority are probably going to say PlayStation, just because of history, hardware. That is what Sony is known for, and they've continued to do that. They're not as well versed in any other hardware than PlayStation right now. The TVs aren't doing the greatest. They don't sell MP3 players no more. Maybe they get some head units out there for your car, but honestly, who gets a Sony head unit anymore? Sony speakers, maybe, but who buys Sony speakers? Like, especially as an enthusiast, like I can go down this path with people and really ask this question: where else is Sony relevant other than the TV market? Where else is Sony relevant other than their insurance market in their own home country? Where else is Sony relevant other than PlayStation? And that's why they get held to that regard.
Yeah.
Because they are the grandfathers of this. Because they have been doing it for such a long time. Because people do look at them with rose-tinted glasses and say, "Man, but that's Sony, man. That's just the way they do business. Oh, because they're from Japan, man. They gotta be ruthless. You ever seen the Yakuza, man? That's Sony. What do you expect? Like, this is just some movie. Like, the Marvel movies have to be mediocre because, they're just superhero movies.
Right.
No. There has to be some thought behind them. There has to be some comic background there. There has to be something to give it that. And the only thing Sony has at this moment is PlayStation. And that's what people know. That's what people recognize. That's what people will continue to always hold near and dear to their heart because for a lot of people still, there's nothing like that PlayStation 1-2 generation. Boom. Yeah. Me and you can sit here and admit all day when that PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, there was nothing like it.
No,
until the Xbox came out.
Yes, that is correct.
Put Halo on the map. There was nothing like it. 3D gaming. The way that you felt about gaming changed when PlayStation 1-2 came out. I can freely acknowledge that I love PlayStation in a lot of ways. But like the mag says, I hate Sony because of their business practices.
Yeah.
And I don't like the fact that PlayStation hasn't evolved, at least to me. But I can understand somebody's frustration if you are a Sony gamer, the same way that anybody else feels, or how I felt when the first Last of Us released on a PlayStation 3 at the end of their generation. As much as I put thousands and thousands of hours on that Xbox 360, when I saw that multiplayer boom, what did I do for Last of Us? I bought a PlayStation 3.
Of course you did. Yeah.
Hey. It does it, so it works for certain places. Sony has been doing things to kind of play in and out per se. But the answer to your question simply, Boom, it's because they are the Jordan of the industry. They're recognized, they're known, they're globally recognized.
Yeah.
It's Sony.
Yeah.
It's easy. I don't know. That at least that's my perspective.
No, it's a good one, and it's the best answer that we can come up with at this point. And I say this with respect, until Microsoft starts putting it down, if by the end of the year, folks, we're looking at a Starfield 90 meta, we're looking at a Redfall 90 meta, we're looking at a Motorsport 90 meta, and then Hellblade finishes off the year with in the 90s. Because obviously we got a chance to take a look at just 1 minute of footage, and this year you look at Sony's going to come in light. They're going to come in super light. Oh, here was the Everborn saga for a hot second. Everborn, listen, before you get to the outros, you literally got here at the nick of time. Let drop your bars, brother, because I know you're unlimited time. But if people want to hear what you have to say about this.
Yeah, so here's the thing. You guys can hear.
Are these free shoes that you're offering? I want to make sure that.
Listen, I don't charge for the shoes. This is a not-for-profit business, right? So here's the thing. right? And I'll try to be as quick and succinct as I can. This whole thing that is happening right now is based on a lie.
Yes.
Right? So we're having all these debates, we're having all these discussions. It's all based on a lie. And so this is not even about me defending any corporation's honor or anything like that. For me, this entire debate is you have people that are either unknowingly or what I think is worse, knowingly spreading a lie, and then we're supposed to accept that as the truth,
Right.
and we're starting from that falsehood. So let me explain what I mean. There is a video going around that is from the Xbox On interview with Phil Spencer, where he was asked about Starfield and whether it was said that it was promised to the PlayStation or whatnot, right? And in the clip, because people are very carefully editing the clip, and they're saying, look, here is Phil Spencer saying that there is no example of us taking off a game, taking games away from PlayStation gamers, right? And then you have this news from IGN France that you just talked about, where the director of Redfall says there was a change once we were acquired, change with a capital C. We were told we're not working on the PlayStation 5 version anymore. So people are putting those two things together, and they're saying, ha, gotcha, Phil lied.
The gotcha
Here's
moment.
the problem.
Yeah.
If you actually listened to that interview, and it's on the Xbox On channel, it's a 22-minute interview, right? You can go to the last section because it's clipped, right? And that's where the question comes up. And Phil is asked, hey, it was said that Starfield would be coming to PlayStation, and then you guys acquired Bethesda and you changed your mind. And Phil rightly pointed out that we never said any such thing. And there is no example of us taking a game away from PlayStation gamers, wait for it, that they already have.
Yep.
Right? There you go.
Literally everyone is leaving out that point.
Of course they are.
Right?
And so their narrative.
The question is, and listen, I get it. If you didn't watch the interview when it happened and you see the Kotaku headlines and things like that, that's what you would think. But there are people who I know better. And then we're having this conversation as though it is a genuine conversation when it is all based on a lie. So now let's take it to the next step further. Once you point this out, right? Because I'm not saying you have to be on board with the nice guy kumbaya thing. A lot of people aren't bored with that. And a lot of Xbox fans will tell you they're not on board with that. But that is not what this is about. So if we're going to say that that is evidence of a lie, then we are in fact lying. So then they will say, well, what about the quote from Kotaku? Exclusives are counter to everything that gaming is about. Yeah. Now, see, so they'll go from the Redfall news to the Xbox On interview to the Kotaku headline. If you actually read the link read the article from the Kotaku headline, they are quoting a gamesindustry.biz interview with Phil Spencer, in which Phil Spencer, and this is the best part about it.
What do you say?
Phil Spencer was being asked about generational exclusives at the time when Jim Ryan, Jim Dance Moves, said, we believe in generations. And the entire media and all the community said, look, because this is before we knew what was going to happen. Look, PlayStation is about generations, and they're not going to be supporting the PS4 because they want to give us new experiences. Yeah. And Phil Spencer was saying, we do not think we should artificially force you to buy a console. That is what is counter to what gaming is about.
So you're speaking the truth, is what you're saying.
Right. It turns out that this conversation we are having about Phil lying is directly linked to Jim Ryan's generation statement because Phil Spencer was actually talking about generational exclusives and them being counter to what gaming is about. And you don't have to believe that. But the only reason Phil was asked about that is because Jim Ryan said, we believe in generations, and you were here. You remember that. You know what happened. You know there have only been from Sony, I think 2, maybe 3 generational exclusives so far.
Yeah.
And they're supporting the PS4 for 4 or 5 years. So again, but this is not about PlayStation. I don't want to make it about that. I'm just saying if we are going to debate, we need to do it on the basis of fact. So now that we have that out of the way, I know that there are many people listening that will say, Everborn, that's not what this is about. You are missing the point. We don't care that Xbox has exclusives. We're not, even though we know, right? We know that this only came up because people are like, well, Redfall's starting to look good. Oh crap, we're not going to get Starfield. Oh boy, the Activision deal may go through. That's the real reason we're having this, but let's just ignore that fact. Let's give everyone the benefit of the doubt. So now they will say it's not about that don't compare it to Stellar Yams, as they say, right? It's not about going exclusive. It's about lying about it. So I say to that, show me the example of the lie.
Yes, exactly.
And if you cannot show me the statement, right, they'll say, oh, they said, look at this. They said, play anywhere. We want to bring games to more people. Let me ask you a question, right? Let me ask you a question, Steel and Boom and chat. Can you not play anywhere if you have a browser?
Oh,
yes, yeah, you can.
Oh.
Can you not play if you an Xbox game also on PC with your saves transferring along?
Oh,
yep, sure good.
Is that not more people, as a matter of fact? And when you include mobile and cloud streaming, we're talking about
include PlayStation though. Everborn, you know.
But see, this is the problem. What the reason, and this is why it's important that we get to the crux of why we're having these conversations. Because at the end of the day, and I'm learning this firsthand because I jumped into this because I got super annoyed. And I don't care what you say about Phil Spencer. I never jump into anybody's. I didn't jump into anybody. People have come to my timeline for this, but I never even comment about people saying this and that about Phil Spencer because I don't care, right? He's a corporate guy. He doesn't know me. I don't know him. He's not calling me while my father's getting surgery, right? I don't give a shit about Phil Spencer, and I mean that respectfully, right? But what I will not abide is people lying as though it was the truth, right? And so this is what I said. I said a lie will travel around the world twice before the truth even gets out of bed, right? So we keep saying these lies as though they are fact, and now we're debating from a false point in the beginning. So that's sort of my issue here, and I'll try to wrap it up now. So they're saying they don't like the lie. They're saying they want people to play everywhere, but because they have been living in a world that has been so focused around PlayStation, which is fine. If that's your bag, that's your bag. They can't possibly fathom that they are not the center of things when people say we want more people to play. Because guess what? Even if you have a PlayStation, you also have a browser. And this idea that there was a lie, very specifically, Xbox, before the deal closed, said we can't really talk about what our plans are because the deal's not closed.
Right.
The day the deal closed, they set the Bethesda Xbox press conference. What was the first thing they told you when they actually had power to make the decision? That this is about exclusives for places where Game Pass exists.
It's kind of funny how they're kind of doing this. Yeah, it's kind of the opposite this time around, where they have to give everybody reassurance. This time they don't even own Activision Blizzard yet, but what is the type of reassurance they're going to give to people when they actually do buy them?
Right.
That hasn't been enough at this point.
and think about this. Even Sony says that Microsoft honored all their contracts.
Yep, they sure did.
This is what they told the CMA, right? So if Microsoft honored all their contracts, how could they have pulled a game, right? We're not saying it wasn't in development. What we're saying is there was no contract because it was never announced. So and this is not semantics, right? This is facts. Because when someone loses an argument with you based on facts, they'll say a few things. They'll say, well, why do you care so much? Or why are you defending a corporation? Or you're arguing semantics. No, we're just telling the truth.
Yes, truth.
Right? So
not half truth, full truth.
Right. So again, you don't have to like it, but let's just start from the basis of truth. So my point in saying all this is, do not let people who are ill-informed or well-informed, but effectively lying or being disingenuous to lead a narrative that they just want to be true. Because what I've learned is that some people actually just want to be upset. And it doesn't matter what information you put in front of their face. They just want to say, oh, they lied. And so, again, you either are going to provide the proof of that lie, not your assumption, because the problem is people make their own interpretations of what was said and then ex post facto decide that that was a rule that was broken. And you can't do that. And if the idea is look at what's happening with Starfield, so why should we trust what they're saying about Call of Duty? Guess what? They've honored all their contracts, and they want to. This is what contracts are for, people. They want a contract for what they will do with Starfield, because everyone acknowledges that they've honored all their contracts. And this is aside from the fact that they from the beginning said case by case. Yep. Now I'll tell you what case by. Here's a case. Deathloop. Where did that go first?
Yeah. PlayStation for a year.
Okay, Ghostwire. That's another case.
PlayStation for a year.
Where did that? That's not even on Xbox yet. That's next month. So now here's a new case. Wait for it. Redfall. That's a case. Starfield is another case.
Yep.
But the Elder Scrolls Online update that's coming out in June, guess what? That goes everywhere. You know why? Because you have it and it's not being pulled from you.
Yep. Same thing with anything for Fallout
Amazing
76
idea.
And you name it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's no example of them pulling a game out of a store. There's also no example of them stopping updates. And there are examples of 2 games that came out exclusively to the PlayStation before Xbox got a single exclusive. So we can have the debate about you not liking the Kumbaya thing, but let's just have that based on facts. That's it. I could keep going, but I think I've driven the point home.
No, you listen, I appreciate you jumping in and dropping these bars, because you really did knock it out of the park. It really does add a lot of flavor to this broth that we have put together, Steele and I. And you have
adobo,
now just
would you say?
Yeah, it would be definitely
a little
the adobo.
bit. Look, we gotta add a little bit more to
Sassoon.
adobo, but
That's
now we're talking.
Now we're talking. That's right. Mrs. Boom is in the next room. She's probably laughing because you mentioned adobo, one of her favorite spices. Except we use the one without salt, because salt's not good for you. But listen, anyway, look, folks.
Listen, I gotta run.
Yeah,
but
go
I
take care
just
of
came
business,
to say
brother.
that. Do your outros. Everybody knows where to find me, everbornsaga.com and every place else. But thank you so much. I had a lot to get off my chest. You've seen with the
we are
and all that.
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for being here, brother.
Did not personally promise you that Xbox was going to become a third-party publisher. You may have wanted to believe that, but that's not what was said. All right, folks. Good night.
Yep.
These are
the
jokes.
Listen, thanks so much, brother. Let me catch up on the super chats, and then we'll get Steele on out of here. And we got to catch up. We had quite a few of them. First of all, Master Queef in the chat drops a $3 super chat and says, "Let Everborn in." And thank you so much for the message. Thank you for the super chat, brother. Jonas the Dad drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "Don't hear ponies demanding PlayStation shares God of War or even Spider-Man for that matter. So straight up for that. Hyper King drops an outstanding $20 super chat, but he also says, and let me just get to the private chat over here because he did say something pretty cool. First of all, he's been a channel member for 23 months. Wow, dude, thank you. He says, speaking utter facts, Boom, with the booms emoji. So thank you so much for that. We also have Drawn TJ, generous friend of the program, drops a $5 super chat and says, I hope Microsoft buys EA or WB or Sega, and Sony just needs to become Sega. Morning, guys. Dreadful Sean drops an additional very generous $10 super chat and says, if Bethesda wasn't under Microsoft, Starfield would come out on 11/11/2022 and be 30 frames and buggy as hell, so they could hopefully meet financials, probably ruining Bethesda at the same time. And that's a strong point. Yeah, that's a good point. Dark Waters drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, I'll say it like the PlayStation guys say to us, just buy an Xbox. Secondly, the fact that they made Spider-Man exclusive without owning the game rights to the character is ironic. And I agree. I mean, look, they own the movie rights, but they don't own the game rights. But what they do is leverage the movie rights to lock the Spider-Man character behind the paywall of the PlayStation. And we saw that even in a third-party game with the Avengers. Just saying. Brett Bingham drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, PlayStation being the popular kid makes sense. They just care about putting down the other kids to make them look good and feel better about themselves. And that's bullying 101. Yes, that's a fantastic point. And last one of the day comes the way of our good friend Kia Walker, who's consistently dropping incredible nuggets of information in the DMs to me. He drops a $5 super chat and says, Minecraft Dungeons and Legends is an example of them putting new games on PlayStation, and that's a fantastic point. But Steele, let's get you on out here, brother. Thanks for hanging out for the extra 20 minutes. Normally, folks, is a 70-minute show. We had almost 600 people here, which is awesome, and that means that we are growing this and the and Monday's Xbox lunch break special. I wasn't sure about how they were going to do, and you folks are coming out to watch and listen and conversate with us. So the show's going to keep going. Sell your brand, brother. Talk about Living Split Screen on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with your brother from another Pong Soul. I would imagine that this Saturday is going to be an amazing conversation.
Probably.
2 to 3 to 4 hours of hot button content. Talk about it, brother. Sell your brand.
Yeah, so Boom, again, it was fantastic to be on. Glad I was able to work some way in and help you out today, man. Again, anytime that I see that signal go up, I'm more than happy if I can to come on through and handle things and beat up the baddies for you. But no, with being serious, yes, you can find me, Steel Rain, every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. UK time on Living Split Screen. It's a non-console centric platform. We talk about everything going on within the gaming industry. It has tended to be about a 3 to 4 hour show, but we typically end up putting timestamps up on the back end. So if you want to choose a specific part that you want to listen to, as far as the conversation goes, that's why we have it available there for you. And yeah, definitely help us out on that road to 1K if you can. But my only thing about that is only hit that sub button if you really enjoy what we're bringing, right? Whether it's the energy, whether it's the passion, whether it's the RTS view. Yes, that's real-time strategy, pulling yourself out of the world, looking at the darker crevices of the map, pulling those resources together so you can build up that foundation to potentially reach these 3 billion gamers that even Phil himself has spoken to or is trying to get to. That's kind of the overall goal, right? It's also the home of that ECP, that educated consumer perspective, because again, me, Boom, we're not lawyers. Me and Pong, we're not attorneys. We don't work with anybody side by side in the industry. We're just gamers who have a passion for the industry, have been doing it for quite some time, and are using not only personal situations or personal experience, but also the professional experience. Like, for example, me and Pong have at least 30 years in customer service sales between us both. On the professional side and on the back end business side. So that's typically where we're coming from, man. So with that being said, again, thank you guys for coming out and chat. And if you want to follow me, frequent the streets of Twitter. So that's Steel Rain. The T is a 7 everywhere. And if it makes it easy for you, just type it in Google and everything will pop up. I greatly appreciate you guys for coming out. Boom. Again, thank you for having me on, that you even thought to, send that message out. I'm always grateful for it, even if it doesn't seem like a big thing. I greatly appreciate you. And again, continue just to be that pillar that you are to our community, man.
Well, thank you for the kind words. And once again, thank you for hanging out with us. You dropped incredible bars. And a shout out to Everborn Saga who jumped in for the last 10 minutes and really, really kind of put it down. Listen, folks, before we get out of here, again, we just launched the merch store. What I'm trying to do is, garner an audience that is into the merch. I'm dropping the link in there right now. I'm going to run the commercial that was drawn up by Sean Labrie. I think it's fantastic. Check it out. And if you're interested, for the remainder of the month, if you use the code BoomStick, you get 15% off on your entire order at checkout. Here's So there you go, folks. There's the commercial. Thank you so much for checking it out. I think go over to my Twitter account if you missed on the link. It's pinned to the front end of Twitter, and the link for Teespring is there. We've sold over 20 shirts already, which is bonkers because you never know how these things are going to go. And we hired 3 artists to come up with their own envision of Double Barrel Gaming. Sean Labrie being one of them. Ben Kenobi of Xbox fame, because he's worked with Xbox, and the Richter has also done work, and he's working on a new version, a new old version of Breakfast with Boom, and we have other designs in development. Big shout out to all of the super chats and the channel memberships. They help more than you could possibly imagine. And of course, Steele, I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of X Vlog Live.